Hello, I'm Anthony Hobbs, and well, this review a bit unusual because, as you can see, I have pink hair. So I thought to myself, what will the next film review be? I thought, well, something pink themed, yes, something to do with the colour pink. And well, whenever you think pink, the Pink Panther comes to mind. So I thought, okay, I haven't done any Pink Panther films, so this is a review of the Pink Panther. More specifically, the 1963 original film, just called The Pink Panther, yeah. And Peter Sellers was in, I think, about 6 Pink Panther films. 2 of them didn't have Pink Panther in the title. But anyway. If you want to know what the fuss about the Pink Panther is all about, well, my advice is see the first one, The Pink Panther, and the sequel, A Shot in the Dark. Those are the 2 great definitive ones. There are some good ones in the 70s as well, yes, but these 2 are like the most important ones, yeah. Anyway, okay, I'll start at the beginning. I loved watching the Pink Panther. Pink hair there, yeah. Anyway, I loved the Pink Panther cartoons when I was a little boy. Then, years later, I heard about these Pink Panther films because, of course, Inspector Clouseau, he featured in the Pink Panther show. And I assume, naturally enough, the cartoon came first, then the live-action films. No. It's the other way round. It was a movie first, although we do see an animated Pink Panther in the opening titles. But no, this is nothing to do with the Pink Panther character. It's called that because there's a very rare diamond called the Pink Panther, yeah. And that's what the fuss is all about. This diamond thief called the Phantom wants to get hold of it, yeah. But of course, after the film, the Pink Panther from 1964 onwards was in a lot of animation shorts in the theatre. And then by 1969, the popularity of the Pink Panther had soared so much he had his own TV show. Yes, yeah. And yes, he was in the cinema and on the television by the 70s, yeah. And in the 60s as well. But anyway, the point is, Inspector Clouseau featured in the Pink Panther show. And yes, I recognise Peter Sellers. He had an uncanny resemblance to the cartoon character. Except it's the other way round. The cartoon is based on him, yeah. Okay, a bit of backstory about Peter Sellers. He was the top funny man in England in the 1950s, yeah, because of the success of the Goon Show. That was a hugely successful comedy radio show, and it was what my father was a child when it was broadcast. He didn't care too much for it, but he did acknowledge the fact that the Goon Show was immensely successful, yes. And afterwards, Peter Sellers wanted to break into films, yes. I think he was in The Lady Killers, but he had a huge part in The Mouse That Roared, released in 1959. And that was a big hit in Britain, but I don't think it did so well in America. I mean, it had American characters in it to sell in America, but no, it didn't do as well in America as they might have hoped. Then in 1963, Peter Sellers was offered the part in the first Pink Panther film, and he paused before he gave an answer. That's crazy. How can you turn down your most definitive role? You know, well, because The Mouse That Roared had a sequel, The Mouse on the Moon, and that was going to be filmed at more or less the same time. So Peter Sellers had a choice. The Mouse on the Moon or the Pink Panther. And he paused for which one's going to be a hit. And after a while he said, alright, I want to do the Pink Panther. And he chose that. And consequently, The Mouse on the Moon, they decided to make the movie anyway, without Peter Sellers. Which is silly, really. Why didn't they just wait until Peter Sellers wasn't busy? Then make the film, but they didn't. They made the movie anyway. And it wasn't a big hit. I think because it didn't have Peter Sellers in it. That's why. It just doesn't look the same without him. And it's a shame, because The Mouse on the Moon, it is a half-decent comedy, yeah. And they just should have been patient and waited for Peter Sellers to, well, when he's available. Why didn't they wait until he wasn't busy? Well, The Pink Panther was such a huge, massive hit, Peter Sellers was busy for the rest of his life after that, yes. He had his career skyrocketed. Lots of sequels to Pink Panther. And lots of other comedy films as well that were successful. And, yeah, and lots of countless television appearances. Peter Sellers was on an all-time high, yes, he was huge, yeah. And, okay, a bit about the story of the Pink Panther. Well, it concerns the bumbling policeman, Inspector Clouseau, yeah. And he's a bumbling Frenchman. Is the story racist? Well, it depends how you look at it. I mean, some could say it's racist because he's French, but there are other French policemen in the stories, and they're not stupid idiots, so no, I don't see it as racist. No, he's just a bumbling idiot that happens to be French, yeah. But Peter Sellers, his attention to detail, you know, the body language, all the slapstick comedy, and when he trips over things and bumps into things, his timing is perfect. It's really well done and still looks really funny even today, yeah. And the exotic location, Cortina, yeah, in Italy, yeah. Oh yes, when I was a boy, I knew Cortina was a car. I didn't know it was a place until I saw this film, yeah. And I saw the 70s Pink Panther films first. Then I saw the original, the Pink Panther. And, well, it's not as fast-paced as the sequels, yeah. They hadn't quite found their footing, didn't know quite how to do this style yet, yeah. But nevertheless, even so, it doesn't matter that it's a bit slower-paced. Because it's worth the wait. Yes, the jokes are worth the wait. Very funny slapstick comedy. And the bit when the two gorillas are looking at each other, well, they're in gorilla costumes, and he's not sure if it's a reflection or if it's really another person, yeah. Very well done. It's like a party, you know, everyone join in and have fun. Pink Panther is very well done. And but Inspector Clouseau technically is not the lead character. Well, how can that be? Well, he is the lead character in all the sequels, yes, no. David Niven, who plays the Phantom, like a diamond thief, and the Phantom and Sir Charles are one and the same person, yeah. Because you see, David Niven was a lot more famous at the time, yeah. So all the focus on him, and Inspector Clouseau is like a secondary character. But I'm sorry, after you've seen the Pink Panther, Inspector Clouseau is the most memorable thing about it, so yes. When they did sequels, all the focus was put on him instead, yeah. And, yes, David Niven, I think he was replaced by a different actor in the 70s. Well, because by the 70s, David Niven was a bit too old to play this charming ladies' man, yeah. And nevertheless, David Niven, he does a good job in the original film and everything. And Claudia Cardinale, she plays like the leading lady, like a kind of princess. And, oh yeah, she went on to be in the movie The Professionals and Once Upon a Time in the West. And yes, it's a great crime comedy caper, and there's great chemistry between the characters. They all, you know, interact with each other really well, yeah. And, okay, spoiler alert now. Basically, Inspector Clouseau, in spite of all his efforts, he doesn't win. No, the bad guys get away. Now, you see, before the year 1963, there was this rule. The bad guys always end up in prison. If it's a serious film or if it's a comedy film, it doesn't make any difference. The bad guys always, you know, justice is done and they end up in prison. But no, this, as far as I know, this is the first one where the bad guys get away. Oh, it's done in a very silly comedic way, but nevertheless the bad guys get away, yeah. But this is unusual because Inspector Clouseau, a bumbling idiot, but he always gets his man. That remains consistent in the sequels, but there are exceptions. In the first film, he doesn't succeed, yeah. And the thing is, Inspector Clouseau, he's a stupid buffoon, but you are rooting for him. Yes, in spite of his stupidity, he's a very likeable character, yeah, and you want him to come through one way or another, yeah. Okay, so, yeah, the best way, it's a good introduction to what the fuss about Inspector Clouseau is all about. So, yeah, I'd highly recommend seeing the first one, the original 1963 film, yeah. And, well, I heard that name, Peter Sellers, many times when I was a boy, but it was before my time. I didn't know what the fuss was about, yeah. So, yes, this was a good introduction, and, yeah. And, what about the sequels? Well, we'll discuss them in a future review. But right now, yes, the Pink Panther, loved the cartoon, but it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for this film, yeah. And it is like a cartoon. Although it's live action, yes, it's just it's very cartoon-like, the way they trip over things and bump into things, yeah. But in a way that makes it more funny that it's live action, yeah. A great live action film in the style of a cartoon. Okay, thank you for watching. I'm Anthony Hobbs, and I'm never bored.